An essential part of the medical countermeasure distribution process involves dispensing medicines or other essential survival support to large numbers of the population. The points of dispensing sites where this takes place are known as pods. City officials have the primary responsibility for all pods within their jurisdictions. Alameda County is responsible for any pods located in unincorporated areas of the county. Together, city and county officials have identified and evaluated many potential pod sites. While most cities in Alameda County have 1 or 2 pods within their city limits, some have as many as 7. Pods are generally set up at school gymnasiums and big auditoriums where large numbers of people can easily come and go. In the event of a public health disaster, you'll be notified by automated phone system, such as AC Alert, or Phone Tree if the phones are working. If not, you may need to listen to the radio, TV, or social media for instructions. As a pod worker, you may be asked to report immediately to a pod, or you may be requested to stand by. Pods will be open 24 hours a day and staffed in 12-hour shifts. Be prepared. When reporting to a pod, wear comfortable clothes and always bring your driver's license and work IDs along with any personal medications you might require over the course of the emergency. At the pod, you'll sign in and be given a role with duties explained in your job action sheet. Efforts will be made to fit your professional skills, but every role is crucial. You'll immediately be provided medication for yourself, and if take-home prescriptions are involved, additional medication for those in your household. Treating an entire urban community within a small time frame will require everyone to perform their duties quickly and efficiently. Why the rush? If a person is exposed to a deadly biological agent, such as anthrax, plague, or tularemia, their odds of survival are greatly improved if they receive protective medication before becoming symptomatic. The new packaging system used by ASPR puts all medicine on a single wrapped pallet as part of the same lot number. So we no longer have to break down or repackage every container or match lot numbers with individuals. If we know which pod a person received their medication, we will automatically know their lot number. This allows us to deploy full pallets of medical countermeasures much faster. This strategy of providing preventative medication to the exposed while still healthy is called post-exposure prophylaxis, or PEP. For PEP to be maximally effective, exposed persons need to be prophylaxed as soon as possible after exposure. Time is critical. In vulnerable individuals, symptoms may begin to appear as early as 24 hours. Simply said, the more people we prophylax in the shortest amount of time, the more lives we potentially save. A swift and aggressive prophylaxis campaign in our community has the potential to save hundreds of thousands of lives. Your participation as a mass prophylaxis responder can make a huge difference. But be aware that everyone participating in an emergency may need to change their normal operating procedures. The mission, getting medications to the masses, sounds simple, but in the event of a large release of weaponized anthrax across the county, we may need to prophylax the entire county population, citizens and visitors. In Alameda County, this means treating 1.7 million people in a little over a day. In a real event, energy and emotions will be running high. A balance must be sought between the time pressure and individual service. This is easy to forget, especially during drills, where cooperation and positive experience are more imperative than speed. So everyone must use their best judgment to expedite dispensing of medications while maintaining a reasonable standard of interaction with the public. The number one rule for all pod staff in a time-critical emergency is be positive and supportive, but always keep the line moving. Pod managers, section chiefs, group supervisors, and unit leaders should always be on the lookout for ways to improve bottlenecks and speed up flow. In the most extreme circumstances, authorities may choose to lift record-keeping requirements and move to a paperless model. Every person in an affected area must be given a bottle and begin taking the medication within the first 48 hours. Only those who have life-threatening allergies to ciprofloxacin or doxycycline should refrain. Instead, after reporting their allergy to medical consultation, they will be given a written prescription for alternative antibiotics, which should be filled and taken as soon as possible. At any point, anyone displaying signs of complications due to anthrax exposure should report to their local hospital. To recap, experts emphasize that the use of post-exposure prophylactic medical countermeasures in the first 48 hours following an anthrax incident is critical to saving lives. Current clinical recommendations for effective anthrax post-exposure prophylaxis include 60 days of oral antimicrobial drugs in conjunction with a 3-dose course of anthrax vaccine for all potentially exposed individuals. People should not skip or miss their scheduled daily dosage for the full 60 days. Pods will shift into a vaccination mode, which will require every individual to visit the pod. Depending on the event and availability, this may be concurrent with the 50-day supply dispensing. No matter what your role in the emergency response, you will be operating within the Incident Command System. ICS has 5 activities at work in the pod: command, operations, planning, logistics, and finance administrative support. Command is handled at each pod by staff under the direction of a site manager responsible for overall pod operations. The site manager is the primary on-site decision maker. Pod site managers and their command staff will communicate beyond the pod to their city or county emergency operations center, or EOC, which will in turn communicate up the chain of command with operational area regional, state, and federal officials. Local law enforcement will provide security and liaison with pod command staff. The Alameda County Sheriff will be focused on community-wide support and make officers available as needed. The remaining pod sections carry out the dispensing mission. Operations are the center stage of the pod mission. CERT volunteers or Medical Reserve Corps volunteers will mostly be assigned to jobs in the operations branch. Your role is crowd control and dispensing the medication. The planning section keeps ahead of pod operations by anticipating needs and problem solving in advance. The planning section monitors operations and reports to the pod site manager, and, if designated, to the city or county EOC and DOC officials. The logistics section manages personnel, supplies, and equipment. From medicines to clipboards, they'll make sure your station or area is supplied with everything you need. The finance admin section tracks and records everything. They're responsible for purchasing supplies and maintaining records of resources and personnel needed to keep the pod functioning. You might think of the pod as a public service business. It works in 2 phases: front of the house, where staff is dealing directly with the public, and back of the house, where staff is supporting the front of the house operation. In the front of the house, operations are teamed with planning. Operations carries out the critical mission of dispensing, while planning handles the paperwork and monitoring to support it. Behind the scenes, at the back of the house, logistics is teamed with finance. Logistics supplies the operation, and finance accounts for it. All of these sections work interdependently under the supervision of command. Keep in mind that the structure of a pod must be flexible. In some situations, not all pod positions will need to be filled for the pod to function. Now let's take a look at the pod from the public's perspective. The pod site has 4 basic flow tracks. Most people will go straight through the express track, to receive doxycycline. Then there is the table track that distributes both doxy and Cipro for those who need to pick up a mix of medications. Then there is a family track for those with children needing pediatric suspension medications or crushing instructions to deal with swallowing difficulties. Finally, there is the assistance track for the small percentage of people with life-threatening complications requiring special medical attention or communication. The POD process is meant to be fast and simple. 4 easy steps. Fill out a form. Have it reviewed for life-threatening allergies or complications. Receive medication from the express, table, or family tracks, and turn in your form with name and medication listed together. And if you need special assistance, there are medical and communication experts, like translators, available to help. Admittedly, this simple flow can appear complicated when laid out to maximize space in a building, but the basic flow remains the same. From this point forward, we'll refer to the public as our clients, and we should try to treat them that way. The first person the public encounters is the greeter. They organize the crowd while generally watching for illness or emergencies that might negatively impact the flow. The greeter is the first part of the fill-out form station. Greeters need to monitor the whole line, not just the front. Walk up and down the entire line. One greeter should always be stationed at the very start of the line. The rest of the fill-out forms team includes flow control staff who hand out forms and ensure that clients fill them out before proceeding. If you encounter someone who's sick outside the pod, quickly separate them from the rest of the crowd. And don't send them into the pod, but get them to an outside medical team. If they're ill, they'll be transported to a healthcare facility for treatment. People may have a lot of questions. Always be reassuring, but try to refer them to signage or to printed material they'll receive further ahead. And then, if there's time, calmly answer their questions, but only if you're certain you know the answer and it will contribute to the flow. As early as possible, clients should be given antibiotic screening forms to complete. Clients may pick up medicine for other family members, but they'll need to complete screening information for each person. It's difficult to fill out forms while standing. Make sure you have more than enough pens and clipboards to stay ahead of the next station. That next station, show forms, is usually the first bottleneck in pod flow. The forms reviewer mission is to quickly check the screening form and direct people to the appropriate track. The top of the form is the doxy section. Most people will be given doxycycline, which will be indicated by all no answers in step 1. All no answers in step 1 will go right to the express track. A yes answer in step 1 means you continue to step 2 only for that person. Step 2 will determine if Cipro can be used for that person. All no answers in step 2 can go to the table track for a mix of medications. Forms are designed so that any risk will stick out. If there is a yes answer in the doxy questions, then they proceed to the second section of the form. If they answer all no's to the second section, they can receive ciprofloxacin. Other questions will screen for pediatrics and swallowing difficulties. A yes answer to any of these questions will be directed to the family track. The family track has both doxy and Cipro along with pediatric suspensions. The special assistance track is only for those who, according to the form, are not medically eligible due to life-threatening allergic reactions from either doxycycline or ciprofloxacin. Forms are not perfect, and people may be tempted to choose answers overcautiously. Always confirm the reason for a flagged answer. Try to be efficient and fast, but most importantly, be accurate in directing people to the appropriate track. At the pickup medicine station, clients will be given their medicine and medicine for their families if appropriate. Adult dispensing is fairly simple, but pediatric medications can require more instruction. Since dispensing is the second likely bottleneck in the pod, delays at this station should be kept to a minimum. To keep the dispensing tracks moving fast, the assistance track is split off to the side into two service areas: medical consultation and special assistance. At medical consultation, a clinical healthcare provider can make necessary medical decisions, dispense medicine, and write prescriptions relating to the emergency. Here, sick patients will be evacuated to a healthcare facility. The final station in the assistance track is the special assistance area, a one-stop catch-all for any remaining concerns, both medical and otherwise. Its mission is to handle the problems other stations can't handle that might disrupt flow. Use special assistance sparingly. Each special case consumes extra time and resources. Candidates for special assistance include those requiring help with communication, mobility, or sensory impairment. Asthma attacks or panic attacks would go to special assistance. A language not included in the literature might need special assistance. But use common sense. Not all people in wheelchairs need or want special assistance. And just because someone speaks another language doesn't mean that they require translation services. Most clients will have a functional understanding of English that can be supplemented by printed material in their native languages available at the exit. So be diligent not to overwhelm the special assistance track. Depending on the disaster, mental health may also be a special assistance consideration. Psychological first aid can be as important as medical prophylaxis. Large pods usually have staff assigned to mental health. Typically, they're either roaming the pod or in the special assistance area. And while you're busy taking care of others, don't forget to take care of yourself. Take food and water breaks when scheduled, and remember your own regular prescription medications. You might also bring personal basics to have at hand, such as aspirin. No matter where you are in the pod, always do your best to communicate quickly and keep the lines moving. Remember that the plan described here addresses a typical anthrax scenario, but a point of dispensing pod is a useful system for many other types of public health disasters. So, to review quickly, greeters organize people as they arrive while forms controllers distribute forms and pens. Both are on the lookout for any emergencies like ill clients who should be taken out of line and assisted. Forms reviewers sort out the 1 in 100 or fewer special cases requiring assistance. Forms review staff should work fast and always be busy, since they often dictate the speed of the line and therefore the survival rate. Dispensing is the primary mission, so those handing out medications must work efficiently. Pre-bagged medications, signs, and printed materials help, but most important is teamwork. The assistance track, which includes medical consultation and special assistance, is meant only to supplement the dispensing operation. These services don't take the place of a family doctor or healthcare facility. The assistance track is primarily for the small number of clients whose health would be critically threatened by receiving medication normally through the express track. For everyone else, working on supplies, record keeping, planning, or support, the pod doesn't function without you. Everyone performs a key role in getting medication to the masses. And everyone affects the speed of the line. Always be reassuring, but keep the line moving, because speed equals survival. Advanced training for station leaders, command staff, and individual ICS sections is available in other modules. Your participation and continued training for public health disasters helps ensure that we're as ready as we can be when our citizens and our communities need us. This pod video series was brought to you by the Alameda County Public Health Department Office of Public Health Emergency Preparedness, in collaboration with Applied Creative Training.